So here's my little video update for this week. Things that have changed since last week. I've got a new UI at the top of the screen that I'm working on. Ultimately, I think that this top bar is going to be for things that are like management and idle tasks that are for the system as a whole. So things that are related not to specific buildings on specific planets, but systems that exist for the whole wide system, star system. Beyond that, and I have some mock-ups I'll show in a second, but beyond that, I've made some changes to the way some of the resource filtering works and how resources are collected. So first and foremost, let me just spawn some mining shuttles, and I'm going to send them off to Mercury. So they're going to go do their thing. And what you're going to see is once I set them to mine, right now they're just going to enter orbit. But I have this sorting facility now. This is sort of a work in progress, but I have some ideas for what I'm going to do with it. I'll tell those guys to mine. So they're going to collect their resources. And what they're going to do is they're going to be picking up unprocessed ore. Before they would pick up the actual ore itself and bring it back to the base on Earth. But now what they're going to bring back is unprocessed ores. And you'll see it go in here and then immediately disappear. And what's happening is the sorting facility is pulling it out of the warehouse. And so it shows up in here. And basically what you're seeing on the left is a hopper of all material that was pulled out of Mercury and delivered here. And the pink items are ores that this UI doesn't recognize yet, so I think that's probably copper. And so there's some UI issues here that aren't worked out yet. But basically what you're seeing is that for the most part, the miner is bringing back a lot of dirt and some good materials. And so the idea is that the miners are a little inefficient. So long-term plan would be that the player would be advised to maybe build one of these orbital warehouses and sorting facilities on the planet where the mining is happening, and then use transport ships to only bring the good stuff back to Earth. And the idea is that you can't use or craft with any resources unless it is in the Earth orbital warehouse. So ultimately all resources collected need to make their way back to Earth. So as far as this government and licenses menu at the top goes, you'll notice at the top here we have 9 out of 5. And so what that means is that we have 9 ships and we have 5 licenses. The way the game will work is that you won't be able to have more ships than you have licenses, and the licenses are issued by the government of Earth. And so I'm working on a UI for that experience. Let me just stop the game. And what you can see is if I re-enable this half-finished government menu module, I have a work in progress UI. And so the idea is that you have to go to the Department of Space Vehicles to acquire licenses. And each license requires more paperwork than the license before it, just due to the nightmarish bureaucracy of, I guess, 31st century Earth. And you can fill out a certain amount of paperwork per minute, and that is determined by basically how many lawyers you've hired. And in this world, when I say hire a lawyer, I really mean build a lawyer, because it's going to be that you build these lawyer android bot things and they do the work for you. And so once they're finished filling out the paperwork, you have to collect the license, and they won't start working on the next one until you do. So this is kind of like a forced player engagement, so that there's a reason to actually look at this thing and to collect licenses from it occasionally, and to kind of be aware of how soon you'll have one and all that. And then of course the whole idea behind the licensing system is that I need some sort of natural limit on the number of ships that the player can build. And the reasons for that are like game performance. Other reasons are just playability. Mechanically, it's not very interesting if the best way to win the game is to just build like 10 million of the smallest ship and let them do their thing. So the idea is that a ship requires 1 license regardless of how good of a ship it is or how big of a ship it is. And the idea is that eventually, in the early game, you'll be able to get a lot of licenses rather quickly, and then at some point you'll find it really painful to get new licenses. But at that point, you'll be able to build bigger and better ships. You'll be able to design your logistics in a way that is more efficient, so you require less ships to do the same amount of work, or do more with the same amount of ships. And so all that's kind of a work in progress. But I think that's pretty much all I've got to show for this week.